Hi there, and welcome again to In the Studio with Matt Tommy and Patty Ann Hale. We are really excited to be here today. It's rainy outside, but it's always a good time to have some great conversation about cultivating a successful creative life. Patty, did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend.
Yeah.
I did some things with the kids and kind of getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
Getting Christmas decorations together, and so
Yeah, we did the same thing, and I think for a lot of people it was also the juxtaposition of trying to get ready for Christmas, and yet all the stuff that happened in Connecticut with the kids and everything is. I don't know. I saw somebody on Facebook just a minute ago that said it was just a weird time taking your kid again to school this morning, and kind of with a prayer on your lips. So
yeah.
I know you probably felt the same way.
I feel like I'm really just fighting against fear about that this morning. Dropping my girls off, I was much more nervous than usual, and so it really hits home. I know Friday when this happened, I had taken a nap, and my husband woke me up, told me what had happened, and I was looking at everything on Facebook and just kind of grieving over that. But then on my phone, I got a call from the school system saying, that they were going to have extra counselors available, and they were going to be, helping the kids get through that. And then it really hit home with me, and I just kind of lost it then.
Yeah. But brings it all to the forefront.
Our last week's program about healing and the arts, it was like Saturday I had to get in the studio and I was going to do Christmas presents. There was things I was going to make, and I couldn't do anything but paint.
Wow.
And so it really helped to get through, for me to process it in my own very small way, which is totally not even relevant compared to what they're going through in Connecticut.
Right.
But I think it's so important to be able to creatively process things.
It is. And I'm just so thankful, I think, for all of us that are believers in Jesus that, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. We do have that hope in Jesus that no matter the depths of pain that we can't even imagine that families are going through right now, that it's because Jesus came at Christmas. It's because we are celebrating this Advent season right now that we can all ultimately have hope that we'll see them again, that the sun's coming up another day, and that God's still on the throne. And it seems like empty words, but they're not, because His word never returns void. And so we can really take hope in that. Well, it's kind of a gloomy day in Asheville, but it's a really exciting day because for us, we've got a great friend in the studio, and I'm so excited to have Tina Evans with us. Tina's a great friend of mine. You guys as ladies have been getting to know each other. I'm like, they're going to lunch now and all this kind of stuff. That's right, BFFs. But it's really great. I know there's just a lot of great things you're going to be sharing today. The thing I was watching this weekend, one of the things I did, I had to watch it in 2 segments, but I ended up watching that movie Blue Like Jazz, and just an awesome movie. Really non-churchy. If there's one religious bone in your body, it will squeeze it out of it if you were to watch that movie. But it's about real kingdom transformation and about really thinking outside the box and as a creative. And when I was watching that movie and just kind of even thinking about our conversation today, I thought, wow, who better to have in the studio today than Tina? Because you really, more than anybody else I know in our little circle of friends here in Asheville, are somebody that thinks outside the box. You're serious about kingdom transformation. You're not one of these people that is really held by boundaries, whether they be religious or creative. I mean, Tina's one of these people. She's just as interested in doing music and body painting and art and, and dance and movement and writing songs and playing here and playing there. And I just love it that you're who you are and you're exactly who God's made you to be. And so welcome to In the Studio today.
Thank you. It's really, really good to be here with 2 very good friends.
Awesome.
And I feel really, really honored. And it is gloomy here in Asheville, but there's a lot of sunshine because that comes from the love of God that we have in our hearts.
That's right.
And I'm just really blessed to be here and talk about the process that I've gone through to come into the place of freedom in Christ.
Yeah.
And
it's always a process, isn't it?
It's always a process, yes.
We all want to be like, jump from here to there and be like, okay, Lord, I'm done. See me at my destination. And
that's exactly right. And it's kind of funny that Matt brought up Blue Like Jazz, because I know that during the time that book first came out, I was really hearing from the Holy Spirit that it was time to come outside the walls of the church, to get outside the box, and to really begin to make a difference in the community and in the city, specifically Asheville for me. And that book really challenged me.
Yeah.
And most of us that were brought up here in the South, we have those deep religious roots.
Right.
And it's sometimes very, very hard to hear God over the voice of tradition.
That's right.
And so,
because I was going to say, you didn't really, although you're very much involved in the community and networking with other ministries and outside of ministry and, doing your music everywhere and your art now in the River Arts District, you weren't always like that. I mean, that's not how it really started out for you. You're a church kid, right? I mean,
yes, very much so. I was brought up in a Christian home, and
when did you know that you were creative? Like, when did you start feeling like I've got that thing that makes me want to be creative, makes me want to either sing or paint or play? You play some instruments and do all the different things. And
probably my earliest recollection of really feeling that creative flow or energy, I probably was as young as 6 or 7 years of age, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as time goes along. But I grew up in a very Appalachian home of music and expression, and so both of my parents were influential in that, and so I really, really felt that from a real young age, that I wanted to just express what was inside of me through music first and foremost, and then through coming into relationships with different people in my life and having different friends. I've had other extensions creativity awoken in my heart.
Wow.
And so that's how I ended up in the River Arts District.
And I loved hearing your background because you got basket makers in your family, and so
I do.
So that makes you cool already.
Yeah.
And then your dad makes dulcimers, right? Is that
He does.
Yeah.
My dad is a woodworker and has always used his hands, and so I've seen that my whole life.
Wow.
And that even in the area of music and of course the arts, and that is an extension of the arts, is being able to we have all different avenues of expression that we can get into, whether it's metal work or working with wood or clay or paint. I just saw that from a young age with my dad. Even watching him build a house from the ground up, it, to me, now that I look back on it, it was a good, excellent example of the creative flow and seeing a finished work come forth and be like, wow, that is, can you believe that started out with tilling up the dirt, laying the foundation, and seeing something beautiful come out of that.
Yeah.
So
Taking something that wasn't there before and you have
exactly.
a beautiful creation. Yeah.
Exactly. And isn't that what God created us to do and to be, which is an extension of His creativity?
That's right.
So, yeah.
So when you first started kind of, okay, maybe I'm creative, maybe I might be an artist or a musician, what was kind of your first entree, I won't say professionally, but how did you start kind of working that out in your own life and saying, maybe this is something I want to pursue?
Well, first of all, it was really my dad extending the opportunity for me to learn how to play music.
Right.
And
I'm drinking my coffee while we're talking because
go right ahead.
we're real casual here.
Yes, so we're very casual. So you guys at home can be casual too, or on the radio and have your coffee or whatever
That's
you're
right.
drinking.
I got my polar fleece here, so I'm all good.
It's a little chilly today. I do remember probably being about 8 or 9 years of age, Matt and Patty, and being in elementary school, and at the time the arts were very alive in school. And we had a music teacher that really sparked an interest in me, as well as knowing that we used to, growing up in the Appalachian Mountains, you had back porch picking, okay? So...
and we're not talking blueberries.
No, we're just talking about a bunch of musicians coming together with their different instruments and just being a community. It's important that we understand that it's a time to be able to grow as community. community.
Yeah.
So I just remember that community of people coming together, and of course I wanted to learn to play the guitar right off the bat.
Sure.
But my parents wanted me to take piano lessons, and I did, but I really wanted to learn the guitar. And my dad, and he may not even remember this, but I remember us having a conversation, and he gave me, or maybe it was an aunt or someone from the church, giving me a set of spoons, and it said, you need to learn how to keep rhythm first. And so I just
awesome.
remember, sitting with those spoons
Right.
and trying to keep rhythm and watching all these musicians ready to go, like
Yeah,
somebody give
yeah.
me a guitar. And so that's probably one of my earliest recollections of
Wow.
that.
I think I'm the kind of the same way. I think Patty and I have talked about this, but you can't remember not doing it.
Right, I don't
You know,
remember
it's just
not
always
doing
been a
it.
part of
Yeah.
who we are. I mean, that's the same for you, right? With painting,
Yes,
and I mean,
yes, exactly. I mean, I can remember probably when I was 3 or 4 years old, because I have memories before I ever went to school of sitting in the living room with fibers and dolls and fabrics all around me, just sitting there in the living room playing all day, creating all day. And so I had to be at least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that kind of continued through your life. I mean, through high school, college. How did your life progress then? As you come to where you are now, kind of take us on that journey, if you will. And how did your creativity? What did it look like?
Well, it's kind of funny that you bring up dolls. A lot of times we don't think about Barbie dolls being a way that you can develop creativity, but it really is. And for me, also, we had paper dolls.
Me
And,
too.
and I just remember always being real excited about seeing what my mom was going to get me for Christmas time. That was going to be more of the collection in the area of Barbie dolls, and then of course we always had the paper dolls, and then I can remember very clearly the year that I asked for an art kit, and so I remember opening it up, and that year I got a tape by John Denver. And if you guys, that might date me a little bit, and an art set.
Wow.
And I knew nothing about drawing and didn't really feel any of that creativity as far as the extension of being able to draw or to paint something. That was my youngest sister's thing.
Wow.
So, but I do remember just sitting with those pencils and really having a desire to move outside of coloring in a coloring book.
Wow.
Which, by the way, even yesterday at work, I looked over and the girl that was working at the front desk with me had printed out a coloring sheet and found some crayons as she was coloring.
That's
and
great.
it just made me happy.
That's great.
Yeah, and so I began to draw, and the first thing that I drew from that particular art kit was a barn.
Wow.
And, I tried my best to draw some horses, and as time progressed, I got into drawing cities. And I was real interested in drawing buildings for a while. And then as time has progressed, what I call doodling.
Wow.
And journaling is another extension of creativity.
Right. So just it was
Yes.
in your blood the whole
was
time.
in my blood,
Yeah, just part of
yeah.
what you did, and
Yeah.
I think what we see all the time as we meet creative people all across the nation is that almost everyone has this story of someone mentoring them,
Yeah.
an aunt or maybe their parents or a
Right.
teacher. They give them some kind of spark that could have just been some offhanded thing that a teacher did, in a class, or something
connected with
like
you.
the spoons.
Right.
Give you the spoons
Yes.
for the rhythm, but it awakens something in
Yeah.
somebody. So that's so important.
that's
Yes.
awesome.
You
think
you
of
see
that.
these movies where there's teachers that look like the hippie, and really my music teacher, art teacher was that kind of lady. I just remember the first day that she walked in, I wanted to be just like her. She was very eclectic and colorful, and I love that.
Yeah.
And what a gift to have that in the school system. I mean, when you said that you're from the Appalachian Mountains and creativity was such a big part of your school environment, that's shocking, actually. So
Yes.
that was a true blessing. That was a treasure to you. So
Yes, it was.
You know.
We're going to hear more about that
That's awesome.
in our next segment. We're going to be talking about, maybe how things progressed as you became an adult, got married, had kids, all the things that we do. And
Yes.
a lot of times creativity disappears. It goes on the back burner. And so we want to hear about your story as we come back on In the Studio.
Supporting the local community. WGNW 95.7, The Choice.
Programming at 95.7 The Choice is made possible with the generous support of business partners like Area 22 Guitars. Area 22 Guitars is Western North Carolina's only boutique guitar shop. Whether it's an American-made all-tube hand-wired amp like Matchless, Divided by 13, Carr, or Fargen, or a U.S.-built custom luthier electric guitar brand like Anderson, PWE, Zion, Rowan, or Gatto, Area 22 Guitars specializes in the unique needs of the discerning musician. They carry a full line of boutique effect pedals like Keeley, Exotic, Rockbox, Menatone, and Wampler. And their acoustic guitars include Breedlove, Larrivee, Eastman, Bedell, and Crafter. Area 22 Guitars, not your average guitar shop. For more information, go to area22guitars.com or call them at 828-884-2222. That's 828-884-2222.
Hi, I'm Matt Tommy from the Worship Studio. And if you're an artist, musician, craftsman, or just wanting to grow in your creativity, I'd like to invite you to be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist weekend experience coming up March 15th through 17th, 2013 in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. This weekend is specifically designed to help creative people just like you embrace their unique God-given design, overcome roadblocks to their creativity, pursue personal wholeness, and share the whole journey with artists from around the country. So for more information or to register online, please visit theworshipstudio.org/unlocking, and we'll see you in March for Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. Hi, and welcome back to In the Studio with Matt Tommy and Patty Ann Hale. We're here, a beautiful day in Asheville, kind of rainy, but it's a good day to have your polar fleece on. And remember, you can always listen to us at 95.7 The Choice here in Asheville, or on 957thechoice.com online, or go to where all the cool kids are on Facebook at facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. And you can listen to us streaming, or you can download us later on and listen to us at your convenience. Hey, we're here with Tina Evans. We love it. We're having a good time talking about how creativity kind of got birthed in you, and just love hearing your story because it really relates, to, I think, Patty and I both, and so many creative people. Tell us, as you grew up like all of us do, and I heard Patty's going to be 40 this next year, but
Oh no.
I am too, she's a few months older than me, but I keep rubbing it in. But as you got older, started looking at careers and what you're going to do, and wanted to get married and have kids. How did that look for you? How did your creativity play into that? And how did that bring you to where you are now?
Well, I think the transition for me, of course, my heritage is, I have some Cherokee in me. And some Irish blood as well. And on my mom's side of the family, even my grandmother, my little Irish grandmother, she was this little roly-poly lady. And I just loved going to her house because she was always baking something. She was always creating something. And she also played the guitar, and she'd put her little guitar up on her lap, and she would begin to strum and sing. And so I knew transitioning from childhood into being from elementary school into high school, that music was going to play some kind of part in my life from here on out. And in high school, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I thought about nursing, and that didn't seem to be something that I really could grasp or get my hands around. There just wasn't enough of creativity in it. So going into adulthood, I knew that I wanted to do something that would be creative and an extension of music and the arts. I wasn't quite sure what that would be, and it has been an evolution, a process of evolution for me.
I remember thinking about for myself as I thought about different careers, and I was involved in ministry very early on, right after college and everything, and there's a season in my life where I had to go to a regular job, and I remember coming home and telling Tanya, they want you to be there every day, like at the same time, and stay till the same time every day. I mean, what? I could not believe it. And I think for so many creative people, we're like, I can do anything but not that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So in adulthood, I have had that same exact struggle, being a person that I really feel like that God has given me the awesome opportunity to come outside of the box. And even though it's seasonal for me. There's seasons that I go back into the marketplace and I carry a 9-to-5 job. Right now, I'm really, really blessed that I don't have to do that on a full-time basis.
Yeah.
So it's given me the opportunity to be able to begin the process of growing even more extensions of creativity and outlets of creativity, and
Right.
even to grow ideas that I have that will eventually bring income in.
That's great.
And so that's real important for me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so I did have that same struggle, and but I also remember in my early 20s, I began to sense very strongly that God also wanted me to be in full-time ministry. And so I had that struggle between the workplace, family, and ministry that
Right.
was occurring.
Right.
And so
For so many creative people, I think that, I know for me, this is why I is one, so I can say it.
Right.
I think there's always that, wrestling that we have about either being in working full time or either being in ministry or either being an artist, that sort of thing. And I see so many of us nowadays working in this beautiful, just flow back and forth between doing things that bring income, doing things that involve ministry, doing things that really feed our heart. And yet no one of those things provide a full-time income necessarily, but it all goes together to make this beautiful flow. And I just love that. So I'm glad to see, that's kind of your story. We're not crazy, Patty. So that's good. Well, let me ask you.
We're all crazy.
I know it.
We'll be crazy together.
Which is not uncommon. So let me ask you this, Tina. I know we've talked about the whole concept of unlocking the heart of the artist, and I really believe, I think all of us believe, that just like, God has this great plan for our life, so does the enemy.
Yes.
And there's always this, that we call them roadblocks at the worship studio, that the enemy tries to set in our path, things that we're going along and thinking everything's great, and then one day we wake up and like, where in the world am I? How did I end up here? It's these things that the enemy puts in our path to really disable us, to get us off the path, to get us going in his direction rather than in the direction that God has for us. I don't know all the details, but I would bet that you probably have a story that's similar to all of ours about having to go through some tough stuff with working out your own life in creativity. How has that been for you? I mean, I know everything's not been roses, right?
No, it has not been. And probably about 8 years ago, I picked up a little tiny book, and it was entitled The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. And in that, it talks about the main character in the book. His name is Ordinary in the Land of Familiar.
Wow.
And he is ready to come outside the box, okay? And he just feels that there's some great thing that he's supposed to be accomplishing. And I've reread this book because it helps me when I get bogged down or stifled by just the circumstances of life. I remember in that book how he talks about encountering the giants in the land and what Bruce called border bullies.
Wow.
And we have those things, and sometimes those giants or bullies are influences that are coming from the outside world. And what I mean by that is the world outside of Christianity or outside the church. And sometimes those bullies are within the church.
Wow.
And so I've had those experiences, and even in my own personal life, like we've talked about, having the balance between family and ministry and how we continue to grow and see our creativity develop. All of those things have certainly been a part of my life. And I've gone through some definite heartaches. About 2 years ago, close to 2 years now, my husband and I separated, and that ended up coming to a place of divorce.
Wow.
My children are both grown now. And I had that struggle where the enemy was speaking to me, was trying to make me believe that all of my destiny was gone.
Wow.
Now, that it had vanished somehow mysteriously.
So there you are creatively, you're in ministry, you're functioning, and
Right.
and so I'm sure the enemy likes to come in and pull the carpet out from under you and say, now what?
Now what? It's like a big bomb goes off.
Yeah.
And you have to readjust or reposition yourself. And for me, that repositioning came through silence and prayer. And just really walking through the storms that life was producing at that time. And doing that slowly, but also not letting go of my instrument and not letting go. I had a friend of mine that awoke in the, for a while I did not paint and did not draw, and I had a friend that came into my life that actually was an extension of what I believe was Christ's creativity, and that awoken the painter inside of me.
Wow.
And so during that time of healing, I would not have been able to heal completely without
Wow.
the creativity.
We just talked
Yes.
last week. It's like you heard our thing last week, our broadcast last week, because we were just talking. Patty just shares so beautifully all the time on healing and creativity, and how we can definitely be healed by interacting with creativity, but also by being creative.
Yes.
And if I hear you right, I'm hearing that your healing process and your own creativity and being involved in that process was a big part of you coming out on the other side of where you were. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
God developed and is still developing and fine-tuning my extension of being a painter, per se, because I do enjoy painting. He's developing that in me as I heal from some of the wounds that I've experienced.
I think, I know that I talked with Tina the other day, and I was like, do you want to come down to the studio and just chat and paint? And I said, or do you need alone time? Because she and I both really understand that need to process through painting. She was like, I think I just need some alone time. And I think of creativity in that way. Jesus said that he is the strong tower that we can run into. He is the ever-present help in time of trouble. And he is the creator, and we are to be found in him. And I think when we find ourselves in that space of creativity, it's like finding ourselves in him. And so I love that you said you did not let go of your guitar.
Yeah.
You needed that space. You needed that creative space in order to process what you were going through in life. Yes. And to me, that's Jesus. That's just, he comes to us as the creator, and it's one of the ways that we don't see him very often as that tower that we can run into in the area of creativity.
I was listening to a song the other day. I love Zach Brown Band, and he's like a cross between the Eagles and James Taylor. And,
I love his,
I just love it. And he's got this great song about his Martin guitar that he wrote, and it's about this hanging on to the guitar and how you brought me so much joy and how you've been the only one that's been there during my season. And I think for all of us as creatives, we feel that with our creative mediums, whether it may be a musical instrument or a paintbrush or whatever, it can be the constant for us.
Yes.
In the midst of so much turmoil in our life. It is the refuge, it's the means of grace that God has given us to experience his goodness and healing. And that's been your story as well.
Yeah. This is a quote that God gave me. He said, the art that I have given you is becoming and has become a living diary of your life. And so, although I still journal, a lot of times when I go into my studio, and the day that I went down into the River Arts District, when I moved back to Asheville, I was living in Waynesville. I did not necessarily even want to be in Asheville as far as a place where my residence was going to be. But I remember very clearly the day that I felt like the Holy Spirit had me drive down into the River Arts District, and I called a number, and the lady told me, we've got, 50 or 70 some people that are before you, and it'll probably be a while before you can get a studio space. I was fighting that tension within myself.
Right.
Well, I'm really not an artist. I kept hearing
I've never
the
heard that
voice.
before.
Yeah.
That's so uncommon.
Yeah, it's
to
so
me.
uncommon for me, an artist, and why would I need a studio?
Right.
But I just was so prompted to call, and then 2 weeks later I got the call from the lady, and she said, I just feel like the space is yours.
Wow.
And so to me that...
And this is where you
yes,
are now.
and
Yeah.
that's where
Sounds
I
like
am
it was
now. Yeah.
serendipitous.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So,
That's right.
and God has done a lot of healing in me.
Yeah.
I've been able to not only express the positive things that are inside of me, but we deal with the positive and negative flow that's within each one of our persons.
Right.
And so the negativity can come out on the canvas too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, we're so excited just to hear your journey, and want to talk about in the next couple of segments where you are now and what you're doing. So so glad you're with us too here in the studio at 95.7 The Choice. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Patty Ann Hale, myself, and our guest Tina Evans today on In the Studio.
Your station, your voice, your choice. 95.7 WGNW.
95.7 The Choice would like to thank Dry Pros for their generous support. Dry Pros has 27 years of experience in the cleaning, restoration, mold remediation, and waterproofing of homes and businesses just like yours. Whether it's a routine cleaning or restoration from flood damage or mold, the team at Dry Pros has the experience to get it done right the first time. Cleaning all types of floors, windows, fine area rugs, and upholstery, they cover it all. For more information, their number is 828-277-9511. That's 828-277-9511, or visit them on the web at www.drypros.com. That's www.drypros.com.
Welcome back to In the Studio with Matt Tommy and Patty Ann Hale. We're here on 95.7 The Choice. Every Monday you can listen to us live here in Asheville, or you can go to 957thechoice.com and stream us. You can also go to facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. and stream us all the time. Download us and take us with you wherever your podcasting capabilities may want to take you. So that was a lot, but I thought that was a really cool way to say that. So, well, hey, we're here with our guest and friend, Tina Evans, who's an incredible musician, creative, painter, just all-around kingdom creative, and we're so glad to know you and be friends with you. Yeah. We were just talking about, as we were on the break, it's funny, if you're watching our podcast, you can say, hey, they're talking, but we can't hear them. Well, we'll wave at you, so hey. Okay. But we were talking about this whole concept of being able to process life through our creativity, but then there's also the very real sense. I've heard a lot of painters say, okay, I'm processing my spirituality through my painting, but now I have like 75 canvases, and what do I do with them? So if I want to keep doing this, I got to sell them, or I got to begin to think about making money with it. What has that balance been for you? Because in the last segment you shared about, having a studio now. In fact, Tina's studio is right through the window up behind our studio. It is, we could like hang out the window and say, hey,
yes.
But what's been that balance for you? How do you keep what some would say the integrity of your artistic expression with this balance of wanting to profit and wanting to allow the Lord to use that as a mode of income for you?
I think it's really important that we give ourselves permission to be successful. So, just 2 days ago, and I go through seasons where I don't go into the studio, but 2 days ago I went back into the space, and I had been out of the space for a couple of weeks, and going back into the space, I could feel I could really sense that the healing process, even though we will continue throughout our lives to experience heartache and grief and different things that will become a part of how we express onto whatever form or medium that we have. I knew going back in that space that now it was time for me to really begin to pray and seek God's heart on what He's going to develop in me that will also be an income. Wow. And that is something that I'm actively looking at right now. Wow. And I love the creative flow, but I also want to see my paintings and my work of art bless someone else's home. Right. And in that, it does bring in provision. And God wants us to have kingdom provision. That's right. And why not through our arts?
Well, that's right. I remember it was you hadn't been in the studio but a couple of weeks, it seemed like. And I remember you coming down to our studio and going, oh my gosh, I sold a painting. The couple came up and you didn't even have a price on the piece. No. Tell that story, because that's great.
I had no idea that anybody would even want to purchase one of my paintings. Right. And a lot of times as artists, we compare ourselves to other artists. And
I've heard that people can struggle with that.
Yeah, we can struggle with that.
Not me, of course, but others,
And so just... so many people I know that I was just feeling is so much more talented than me, but God was developing a form of art that was coming out of me on canvas. And this couple walked in and they loved it and they said, how much is it? And I just remember sitting there being completely surprised that they wanted to purchase the piece. And I think I said $600, and the guy just got out his checkbook and wrote a check for $600. And when they left, I just sat there looking at it like, oh my, this is great! I can actually sell art, and And I've sold several pieces since coming into that space, and I've been in the space maybe 6 months now.
Wow.
And so
It's a beautiful story, I think, about being true to who God's made you creatively and trusting Him for the provision. And
Yes.
there's always that balance, I think. We talk about this a lot, Patty and I, about, it's not the whole, I'm just going to sit here in the studio and wait for God to do something. There is this active co-laboring. It starts with having your studio door open. It starts with being in there and doing the work, But
Right.
when we're operating and cooperating with the Lord in that process, and then, like Proverbs says, commit your ways to the Lord and they'll succeed. Then we give God something to bless. And I always love to say, I heard this from somebody, but I totally stole it, that God directs your steps, not your standing still. And, as we continue to walk forward in what we're doing and allowing the Lord to move through our creativity, sure, He can provide beautiful provision for you. And
Yes.
The neat thing that I love about you, Tina, is, I think we're all like this to some extent if we're true with ourselves, but you're not just a painter. You're not a one-trick pony. It's not all you do. You write songs, you play music. How is that for you? Do you flow as easily into music as you do through the visual arts? And tell us about that whole process, I guess.
I work at having a balance. So I am a writer, and I love to write poetry. I'm working on my first book, and sent a manuscript off and got a reply back that they want it once it's completed.
Awesome.
And I'm real excited about that. I never thought I would ever be a writer, but I am going to be a writer.
Yeah.
And I think it's having that positive outlook, and it's
Yeah.
just like, again, finding that balance between that, our art and our creativity is an extension of allowing that healing process to take place and just the creative process, but also to see the provision come.
Right.
And for me, it's also about leaving a legacy. It's about, I want to have a stamp that I've left for my children, first and
Wow.
foremost, to know that their mom went after her passions, went after the things that brought excitement and joy. And God, I heard an excellent sermon in my church yesterday about the joy. And God wants us to be joyful.
That's
And
right.
it brings me a lot of joy to find that balance. And I can always feel when I'm leaning more towards one thing than the other.
Sure.
And sometimes you have to, because like right now I'm really into the music because I'm playing out in the city now in the secular bar scene. And we can talk about that a little bit more, but then I always come back to I have to find that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I love that, again, because you are one that really is very comfortable in blurring the lines. We love as Christians to make lines, right? To
Yes.
make good boundaries, church and secular, sacred and secular. And I really believe, and I think you believe too, that it's all the Lord's.
It is.
It's all the
Yes.
kingdom. That every place we place our feet, we take the kingdom. And so, tell everybody right now, because you're actively in ministry, you're actively, singing at jazz clubs and writing, and tell about that. Is that a struggle? Has it been a struggle for you, or how does that work out in your life? And I would be interested in hearing what do other people think about it, because I know you probably get some questions like, Tina, what are you doing? Yeah, that's right.
Well, most definitely, I do hear that. How can you be out in a bar playing music and believe that is something that holds integrity in being a leader in the church? And I am very much in a place today through the process of healing and coming into deeper levels of freedom. Not that I've arrived,
Sure.
because sometimes we do still seek the approval of man.
Yeah.
And but that's not very often for me anymore. I'm going to be who God called me to be, and I'm going to be outside of the box.
Yeah.
And I'm going to flow the way that God created me to flow.
Yeah.
And so today, in going back in, I was very involved in leading. I have been very involved in leading worship in the church, but when I go out into the community and I'm playing in a bar setting, I'm still an extension of the kingdom of God.
Wow.
I'm still His salt, His light, and His love.
That's right.
And that never changes,
One
no
of the
matter
things
what we're doing.
I think that we, especially people that feel a calling in ministry, is that we feel like everything that we've got to give has to have voice within the local church. And I really believe that most of the creative gifting that God's given us is for the marketplace, is for the harvest, is for people that don't yet have an experience with who Jesus is, with who God is. And it's through our creative expression that they get to know that. And it's like if we have this mindset all the time that everything that we do has to be quote unquote worship in a church, hey, it's worship out in the streets.
Yes.
You know, and that's where the encounter can come. And do you have any stories, I mean, just of being in, clubs and being out among people and just seeing God show up in unexpected ways? You're like, wow. I mean, tell us about one of those.
Share your story from Tressa's.
Well,
that you were sharing at our community group one night.
Yeah. I have actually had opportunity to see conversion happen in a nightclub setting. And I wrote a song, and I'll get to Tressa's in just a second. I wrote a song called The Story, and I entered a songwriters contest, and it was happening at the Great Eagle. And I actually won that contest that night. And I had someone that came up to me and said, "Can you tell me what that song was about?" And I said, "Yes, I can." And it's the story is about the story of Jesus. And I ended up talking to that young man out in the parking lot for a good 3 hours, and at the end of our conversation, he gave his life to the Lord.
Wow.
And I'm still in contact with him today, and he's serving the Lord faithfully, and it's amazing. But again, when I'm in places like right now, my main focus is playing jazz, a kind of very eclectic type music between a merge of jazz and Latin, and God's brought some incredible musicians into my life to be able to do that. When I go into those places like Tressa's or just any place that God opens up a door for me to play, I'm always thinking to myself, I'm no better than the people that are in here.
Yeah.
I am a sinner saved by God's amazing grace. And we're all in the journey.
Yeah.
We may be at different places in our journey, but we're all in the journey.
That's
and a
right.
part of that journey for a lot of people that are in our city is being beckoned by the Lord, God drawing. So we're a part of an extension of God drawing people
Wow.
to the love of who He is.
And doesn't that take the pressure off? I mean, I know it does for me. That's like, instead of seeing everybody as like notches on our spiritual belt, that,
Right.
oh, I got another one saved, whatever. It's like, we're just able to walk in the fullness of who God's called us to be at this time in our life and let Him show up. It doesn't mean that we're backing up from anything that God's called us to, but rather I think it really is we're able to trust Him more and say, God, I want to be who You created me to be. It's that great quote by St. Irenaeus, the glory of God is man fully alive. The more I get to be me, who God really created me to be, the more He's glorified. And I see that in your life, that I'm just going to be Tina.
Yes.
And Tina likes jazz.
Yes.
And if Tina likes jazz and Tina likes Jesus, then Jesus probably likes jazz.
Yeah, that sounds like a book to me,
I
Jesus
know
and Jazz. Yeah, so I'll have to write that down. Yes.
Well, we want to hear some of that music that you've been writing and hear a little bit more of that in our last segment coming up. And so
Okay.
remember, you're listening to In the Studio here with Matt and Patty. We're here with Tina Evans, and don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back for our last segment.
WGNW 95.7, The Choice.
Programming at 95.7 The Choice is made possible with the generous support of business partners like Area 22 Guitars. Area 22 Guitars is Western North Carolina's only boutique guitar shop. Whether it's an American-made all-tube hand-wired amp like Matchless, Divided by 13, Carr, or Fargen, or a U.S.-built custom luthier electric guitar brand like Anderson, PWE, Zion, Rowan, or Gatto, Area 22 Guitars specializes in the unique needs of the discerning musician. They carry a full line of boutique effect pedals like Keeley, Exotic, Rockbox, Menatone, and Wampler. And their acoustic guitars include Breedlove, Larrivee, Eastman, Bedell, and Crafter. Area 22 Guitars, not your average guitar shop. For more information, go to area22guitars.com or call them at 828-884-2222. That's 828-884-2222.
Hi, I'm Matt Tommy from the Worship Studio. And if you're an artist, musician, craftsman, or just wanting to grow in your creativity, I'd like to invite you to be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist weekend experience coming up March 15th through 17th, 2013 in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. This weekend is specifically designed to help creative people just like you embrace their unique God-given design. overcome roadblocks to their creativity, pursue personal wholeness, and share the whole journey with artists from around the country. So for more information or to register online, please visit theworshipstudio.org/unlocking, and we'll see you in March for Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. And we're back here in the studio with Matt Tommey and Patty Ann Hale here on 95.7 The Choice, right here in beautiful Asheville, North Carolina. You can always listen to us at 957thechoice.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. Join our group. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yes.
We've got like almost
Over 1,000 people.
Yeah, over 1,000 artists from all over the world, and it's just so cool to collaborate and be a part of that network. So definitely connect with us there. Well, hey, we're a part of a great conversation here today with our friend Tina Evans, who's here, who's a painter and a writer and just general Kingdom creative, and also a musician. We've been talking about that a little bit, just how you're blurring the lines of Kingdom creativity, both in the church and outside the church, and we love that. And one of the things that you do wonderfully is write songs and play. And tell us about the song you're going to play for us today.
Well, the song that I'm going to play today, I wrote probably about 3 months ago, and coming back into Asheville, I had the opportunity to move in with a couple of really good friends of mine, and a very conducive place for creativity, and because we are conduits, and I just remember being in a real quiet, still place the day that this song came. And I really just saw, had a vision of me just dancing with Jesus.
Wow.
And He is the life. And so He's the life that brings forth the creativity, brings forth our art, our writing, our dance, whatever your extension of creativity is, or whatever your art form is.
Yeah.
And so the title of this song is called The Dance, and it's the dance of life. And, well, I'll just sing it.
Awesome.
Okay. called
If
The
you're-
Dance.
If you're just joining us, that was Tina Evans here on In the Studio. And wow, Patty, I know you're loving that song because
Absolutely, yeah.
we talk a lot about just the dance with the Lord and how it is a dance with back and forth with our creativity and all the expressions that God's given us.
Yeah, Tina, what I love about that is that song is so much you.
Yes.
You know, I'm sitting here. The way our radio station here is set up, we're kind of in the window and we're looking right out onto the street of Asheville, and I'm watching people go by. There's very purposed, sharp businessmen going by that are very much pushing into where they need to go and what they want to do in life. And then there's people, you know, the more hippie crowd that's just laid back and just going with the flow. And I'm looking at that rhythm of people walking by on the streets, and I'm hearing that in your song and how Jesus really wants to meet all of us right where we are. And there are times in our life, as I think we've heard with you this whole segment, that there's times when we push, and there's times when we lean back into Him, and times when we rest, and times when we're purposed, or times when we're not. And that's all okay, because it's all about the journey.
That's right.
And so I just love that we can hear that in your music, and I see it in your art too, in your visual art. And I want to let you guys know that you can go to soulhousearts.com to see some of Tina's work, and they can catch your music on YouTube.
Yes.
Tina Evans, just search that on YouTube,
Yes,
correct?
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct.
And so, yeah, you want to hear more of her music and see her art. And I think in all of that, we can hear the dance, and we can see the dance with the Lord. And so thank you so much for
you.
bringing
Yeah.
that out for us,
you.
you know, and for everybody that's listening, that it's okay to be wherever you are on the journey today. And,
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that's a real good thing to say.
Yeah.
That it's okay, because that song really is all about the journey.
yeah.
And a lot of times we miss the beauty of the journey because we're trying to get to the destination.
Yeah.
And the destination is the here and now.
Yeah.
The kingdom is
today.
now.
Right.
It's today. And you need to apprehend that.
Yeah.
Apprehend, you know, I love, one quote that I love is Picasso said, "It takes courage to do art."
Wow.
And whatever your art is, you know, and I want to encourage all of our listening audience, take courage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your courage on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
God's courage, and step out in faith and put your hand to something. You know, recently I had one of the worship leaders in the city say, you know, and she's at one of the largest churches here in Asheville, and she said, you know, I'd love to be able to actually do art. She's a worship leader. And I said, well, come on down to the studio.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you some paint and a canvas, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you'll find that you're an artist.
Yeah.
Get your courage on.
Yes, get your courage
That's your
on.
first hip hop song, too,
Yes,
right
there
there.
you go.
Get your
Yes.
courage on.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yes.
I always go
definitely.
Donnie McClurkin gospel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it. Yes, definitely.
Well, awesome. It's been a pleasure, really, having
Thank
you here with us today.
Thank you.
And you know, talking about the journey, there's a lot we got coming up that can help
Yeah.
artists get involved in the journey. What are some of the things that we're doing here at the worship
Well, one
studio?
of the things I think we should mention is that it's kind of a local thing, but
Yeah.
we have first Friday of every month we have worship nights, and Tina is usually a part of that. And so, and we really do a journey with that. It's really a journey of music, and people are kind of, you know, spawning off of one another as to where we're going musically, and we have painting and all that kind of thing. So if you're local here in Nashville, or if you want to travel a little bit, come and see us on the first Friday at the River Oaks studio.
That's right.
But
And there's a
also-
ton of other stuff
yeah.
going on our website. You can always visit theworshipstudio.org to find out different retreats and resources that we have there for artists all around the world. It's just a real encouragement. And then also connect with us on Facebook. Again, over 1,000 artists there that you can connect with, really find a lot of support, figure out that you're not the only one that's crazy out there. We're all out here too, and going after God with our
Wanna hear about
creativity.
you.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So until next time, you're here with us in the studio. Join us either on Facebook, on Ustream.com, or live every Monday here on 95.7 The Choice. So thanks a lot for being with us, and we'll see you next time here on In the Studio.